Hi there, my name is Dani Henderson. Welcome back to this disclosure channel of truth about all things in all realms and all systems on your planet. My guest today is my lovely friend, Marishka Richet. Hello, Marishka. How are you? Welcome back.
Hi, dearest Dani. It's always an honor to be with you. Thank you for having me. Hi.
Yeah, it's a great love to have you here too, because you're so quirky, which incidentally is the name of your sound bath company, which you and your husband Matisse have these beautiful sacred instruments. You've been on my channel, you've created sound bath. People can go find that. It's called Quirky Zen. Plug in your headphones and lay down and listen to the ancient sounds of the beautiful instruments from before, the way we pass that are now very present and very, very healing in our bodies. So you and I, we met years ago in Costa Rica. We were both living there for different reasons. It was during a lockdown across the whole entire world. It's funny because
Yeah.
people have asked me many times, as you know, I lived there, for 2 years, bought a house in the middle of the jungle like a crazy old woman, nut job, and had many different experiences there. And people think that it's it's so romantic living in Costa Rica, but let's tell them some of the realities, shall we, Marishka, my friend? What's it like for
Yeah.
you? Let's talk about
It,
water.
oh, wow. I think that was an absolute blessing, though, the being near water and being able to go into water every day, whether it be the sea or a river. It's just spectacular to be submersed in nature. Very, very healing. I've always loved to be in nature, but I grew up in London. I'm a Londoner, so it's like you have to really seek out to be in nature. Whereas in Costa Rica, you live with nature, you become a part of nature. And yeah, the water is absolutely beautiful and healing. And for many years, I've always had a relationship with water. I don't just wash, I bless my water before I get into my bath. I give thanks to the shower before it runs onto me. Water has feeling, it has memory, it can converse with you. So to be able to be in Costa Rica and dip into those beautiful, warm sea was amazing. And the rivers, wow, they're super cold. So then you could do all like your Wim Hof stuff, which was, that's super powerful. But at the same time, you get a shit ton of rain. Half of the year, it's like blissful and amazing. And you're like, wow, this is cosmic, man. And then it just pours down with rain for pretty much 6 months. And I think if you're able to withstand that, you are, you've got some grit and some guts, because sometimes you couldn't move around. You'd be stranded in places because the side of the road would give way,
Mm-hmm.
so you couldn't go out. Maybe you could get down the hill, but you couldn't get back up your hill. And it was very hilly in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
So when the rainy season came upon you, you didn't have much to do, right? Like you had to deal with yourself. I mean, that's what Matisse and we did a lot of work. We did a lot of internal work, soul searching, showing up for each other, being each other's cheerleaders, um, and yeah, like sifting through a lot of stuff that wasn't serving us. And it was ugly and it was grimy and it hurt and it wasn't pretty because we were in paradise. Yes, that's great. But when you take away all of the distractions and all of the noise, what are you left with? You're left with you, yourself, and I. Um, and ultimately, you have to just deal with yourself. You can keep trying to run from it. You can watch TV, put music on, you can do all of that stuff. But for Matisse and I, we knew that that was our time. We'd given that gift to ourselves to leave. It was all going crazy in England and around the world, and we were like, we can't tolerate this and accept this. We know that it's not right what's going on, and we're certainly not going to subject our child to this. So we sold everything and we left, and that was a huge sacrifice, massive. And now coming back, it's like starting all over again. But we've come back to England, not the same people. We are certainly not the same people. We resonate at different frequencies. My heart is so much bigger and fuller. Like I don't tolerate as much nonsense as I used to, but I don't do it in a way that's really quite blunt and straight as I used to be. I have a lot more compassion and empathy for people. And if someone is triggering me, I'll be like, okay, what is it that I need to deal with? It's not necessarily on them. This is something that's bothering me. So what is it? So I check myself before I'm gonna, on someone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, amazing. Some of the not so good stuff to point out is when the rainy season comes, I think it's April to, I mean, it's funky. It's funky how it's flipped around. But anyway, there's dust everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. And there's rain. And
Oh,
on my mountain, there was no real road yet. We all paid to have a road made. I was at the very top, but you had to go up on your quad. You couldn't get a car up there. It was, and then when the rains come, there'll be landslides. And as sadly, so much of the beautiful town of Santa Teresa, where I was, has been overrun with people trying to buy land and build houses. It's literally moved the topography, the land, the ancient trees, the ancient land itself, and it's very sad. And I mean that, it's dreadfully sad to see the invasion of humanity there. But when rainy season was on, yes, I mean, I never had a television, and electricity would go down, you'd get thunder and lightning like you've never seen in your life, no internet. And again, so I couldn't have many clients, one-to-one clients, especially if I was doing any kind of deep therapy with them, because the risk of leaving them in a vulnerable state was just not good. And so you couldn't work, you couldn't go out, you couldn't leave. And then the other flip side of that is when you get into the dry season, you hope that your well is full from all the rains, but your well is going to run out at some point. It's like 6 months of the year you have your natural water, and these things, they really do take effect on you, and it is a completely different way of living. And so it is not as easy as people think. It is actually quite hard living because we are used to the luxuries. And I mean, I had a stacker in America. It's a washer and a dryer. So you've got the washing machine with the old-fashioned lid that comes up. And then on the top,
yeah.
attached to it, is a tumble dryer, the front loader tumble dryer. An interesting space saving thing. But getting that up the mountain, getting my sofas up the mountain, it's going on an old farm truck. Your sofas, mine were cream. I got two at the same time. They were covered in mud and dust, and you just have to suck it up, and on you
Yeah.
go, because you are not
Yeah.
returning. Non-returnez-vous.
Yeah, no, it was dirty. It was
Yeah.
dirty. It was, like literally physically, you were often like, you had dirty feet, you had dirty nails, you were dirty, you're living in the jungle. But there was something about that being connected to to the earth like that, to Pachamama, to the elementals, like for me, so much um just opened up. Like I'm Indian Irish, my mother's Irish, my father's Indian. So I've always grown up believing in the fairies and the witches and everything. But being in Costa Rica, it's just like the veil was incredibly thin. So they were just like always, there was always a fairy there. There was always something that you weren't quite sure what was in the jungle. You're like, what is that? Is it an animal, or could it be some sort of other being? And then when you'd go out at nighttime, the skies were just so epic and so big, especially when we lived in the mountains. That was something else. We were really like quite remote. But the skies and the stars and seeing crafts and having visitors, like, oh wow, like it's different. It's a different world. I think when there isn't lots going on, like we've got a lot of pollution, haven't we? Light pollution, noise pollution in the West, whereas in places like Costa Rica, there isn't any of that. It's pure, basic, simple living. They hardly throw away things. If something's broken, they'll fix it, or they'll break part of it off and attach it to something else. We're a very throwaway culture. That's not like that at all there. They're very what are they? It's
They're
simple.
just
It's simple
industrious.
living.
Yeah, industrious. I had
Wow.
a, we'll have quads out there, and a friend came to stay, and he's a really big guy, and he broke my Kickstarter on my quad. And I just didn't know what to
Oh
do.
dear.
And I ended up meeting this guy with a motorcycle who jumped on the back of my quad and then took me to, and I'd seen him around town, so I knew he wasn't an axe murderer. Took me to the
Mm.
next town, which is through the jungle. Like it's miles through the jungle to the next town. And he took me to a friend of his in his little teeny tiny working spot, and they crafted something and they welded a bit of metal onto my Kickstarter, and then it worked, and I was able to sell that quad when I left for more money than I bought it for, which is great. Bonus. But I had this little red Jeep, Johnny. Johnny just died. I never saw Johnny again. But rest in peace, Johnny. But oh my gosh, what fun, and how industrious and industrial, and how much you have to think differently. Now, you and I, Marishka, my
Yeah.
love, we've had a lot of very spiritual and paranormal experiences between us. I'm going to share a little bit about when it was time for me to be ejected from my house in Costa Rica. I was ignoring the signs and the signals that I was recovering from the sudden and violent death of my husband to be. I was in a very bad place mentally and emotionally, and wanted to get as far away in the world as I could from anything and not feel the pain I was feeling and suffering for over 2 years. Anyway, but I kept ignoring signs. Now, on my veranda, I had a wrap-round veranda on my house, and the house was very, very light, as you quite rightly mentioned. It's like a different density where I was in Costa Rica, in Santa Teresa, even though it's full of really bad mother fudders, wealthy, stinking celebrities. I knew nothing of that when I went there. I couldn't have cared less, but I ended up there because I was supposed to, on top of the highest mountain, in a house in the jungle on my own. The house was built on stilts. The rocks were literally the very top of the mountain rocks. They had quartz. I had so many amazing phenomena I met with. Thorhan there, Valnek, the gay Pleiadian came to visit. Elena and I took his photo. Ardana came there in a holographic bubble with Thorhan. A Tal guard came. Annex came, upgraded my holographic tracker. There were so many spiritual, mind-blowing things. I remember thinking, I'm sure that part of all this phenomena is the environment that's created in this pristine jungle canopy with the crystalline frequency of the house and the rocks, my own vibratory, my own connection to the galactics, to the spiritual, to the angelic. And that's what I told myself, but I kept ignoring signs. Now they call them something else that I forget the name of now, but the iguanas, giant, they're 3 foot. They've got long claws. Do you remember the long, scratchy claws? Well, they never came in the house, and my house used to open all the windows, floor to ceiling glass. And one time, this huge one came in the house, and it ran at me, and it got spooked by something, but it really scared me. And then it took the biggest shit all over my tiled floor. And I remember thinking, wow, that really scared me. I was just about to jump on the sofa. And then there was another time where this was one of the weirdest ones. So I had 2 bedrooms, brand new furniture in both. And I decided to sleep in one of the bigger room one night. So I'm in the bed and I'm sleeping, and something's like, get up, get up, get up. So I get up and I walk into the living room, and it was just, again, looking straight out into the jungle. And I put the kettle on, and then I went back into the bedroom. And as I'd left the bed, I just pulled the duvet over, like just so you couldn't see, looked like the bed was made. And something said, pull the duvet back. I pulled the duvet back, and there were hundreds and hundreds of big red swarming ants right where I'd been laying. How is that possible? From getting out of the bed to put the kettle on, taking a breath, admiring the jungle, going back into the bedroom, and right where I was laying? No. Anyway, it turned out it was Thorhan, the Pleiadian, and Elena confirmed. He's like, how many more signs do
Yeah.
we have to send you? So, and that was before our first GISIC, Galactic Spiritual Informers Conference that you were at the first and second year, weren't you?
Yes.
So anyway, let's move to you. Let's share
Wow.
some. Yeah. Again, ignoring the signs, spirit's gonna hit you upside the head and keep saying, oi, 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 pay attention. Regardez-moi,
It's a shame that it has to
écoutez-moi.
get to that. Yeah.
Well, sometimes we're stubborn and we're scared of change, aren't we? So, but yeah, so share some of
Yes.
your kind of stories that you have planned for us today.
Would you like it to be from Costa Rica or from growing up in London? In
Whatever
London, it
you
was
go.
really intense.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
whatever.
well, when I was in, so I had a near-death experience when I was 2.5, and I was happy to go. I was like, oh, yeah. It felt like the womb, you know. I was like, yes, please take me. And I was told very clearly, no, you've got to go back. There's things that you need to do. And I was like, no, because already at 2.5, it'd been pretty messy, you know. I grew up with an Irish mother and an Indian father who weren't allowed to be together because of color of skin and class. It was very, very tough. I grew up with a lot of racism. Um, and and then at 12 years old, I loved going to sacred places. I loved going into churches. I loved going into quiet peace gardens. Wherever I could seek sanctuary, I would seek it because I didn't really vibe with kids. I liked the elderly and I liked animals. And I'm still kind of like that. I'm very choosy whom comes into my sanctuary, you know? And I was 12 years old. I was in like a chapel, and I got a vision of a war that is to come. And even at 12, we know we're exposed to what war looks like, right? But there was no blood, and it was silent. And I was like, well, I don't understand. What's that about? And they were like, you're going to be a part of a war, and you're going to be a frontliner. You're going to be really important. So you've got to do some major work, and you should make sure you're ready to show up when this war goes down. And I was like, okay, but like there's no bloodshed and it's super quiet. What is that about? And look what we've been experiencing. We've been experiencing a war on the spirit, right? There's been no bloodshed. Well, it's coming, unfortunately. A lot are passing, aren't they? But it's been a silent war. We were literally muzzled. We couldn't speak. We had to wear the masks. So, you know, as time's gone on, things have started to pieces of the puzzles are all starting to connect up. You know, I'm like, wow, when I was 12, I was told that this was going to go down. And then when I was 16, I lost a good friend of mine. His mother died, and it was very sudden. And I remember thinking, life, there has to be so much more to this thing called life, because it all seems really quite base and boring. Like, what's going on? What can I do? How can I give back? How can I show up in a better way through the loss of my dear friend's mother? You know, so then that made me just start questioning life. Who am I? What is the purpose of all of this? At 16, well, everyone wants to go to concerts and rave it up. I'm sad going, everyone was like, you're such a nut. But even then I was like, something isn't right about going to all of these concerts and stuff. Like, I knew then it was like witchcraft and spell binding on us, and I wouldn't go into them, you know. I just didn't know. It was like I was really switched on from a very young age, what was right and what was wrong. Like, my antenna was on. But what I did do is start to read. I was like, right, I'm gonna read books, because at that time we didn't have anything, right? We didn't have the internet. We didn't have big festivals that we could go to and go to conferences. We didn't have it. So I would read. And I read the Celestine Prophecy. And the Celestine Prophecy at 16 was like, wow, game changer for me, because it spoke about energy and portals. And I was like, phew. And then things literally did then open up for me. I was often visited by orbs, and I would communicate with them, and it's all telepathic, but I could see these orbs and all of the beautiful patterns within them, and how they would often change. The patterns would change, and we'd have these amazing conversations. And once again, family and friends were like, she's such a weirdo, she spends so much time on her own, or she's off somewhere in nature, what's going on? But I was constantly communicating with these beautiful, amazing beings who show up in our realm, in our reality, circular orbs, often blue with like this beautiful white patterns inside. And I had quite a lot of experiences as well where I would leave my body physically. I would travel, and I was aware of the different layers that had been placed on our earth. It often looked like webbing. And it had various different layers. It had one that was like really bright yellow and intense, and it was like a web, like a net. And I could see that beings their energy couldn't go further than that webbing, that netting. And for me, as a really rebellious, like I was between 16 and 18 when I had quite a lot of these big experiences, I was like, I'm not having any of that. Like, I want to soar. I want to fly. I'm not caged. So I would often see myself breaking through this webbing. And what really made things go up another notch for me was we had pirate radio stations growing up. I was a garage girl. We had pirate radio stations. We still had FM and AM then, and we would tune in, and there was these wicked pirate radio stations, and you dance away. And I remember one day having this really unusual feeling go up my spine, and my chest expanded and opened, and I could see my aura and my energy, and I was like, wow, this is cosmic. What is this, man? And at that point, I knew, but I didn't know, because I'd read in the Celestine Prophecy about energy and aura, but that was my real first kind of experience of seeing my own. And then I also could see the frequency, the waves from the radio. And I literally was hopped on it and journeyed on these frequencies and was roaming around London. My energy, my essence, my frequency, moving around on these waves. And it was amazing. It was absolutely fantastic. And I interacted with various different sites in London. As we know, it's a very powerful place. And I would go to places and take energy readings, like places that you wouldn't necessarily be able to go to, like the Houses of Parliament, like Canary Wharf, various different places that were just locked down to the average Joe blogs. I would travel to these places just in spirit form, in energy form, on these frequencies, on these what is it called?
Sine waves, SINE. Some people call it sine waves, but it's electromagnetic frequency, ley line energy, portal energy.
Yes, thank you. I had a bit of a mind blank because I completely teleported back to being, I think I was 17. Yeah, and what then came after that? So it was all mystical, magical, and wonderful, and it was huge, and I really grew energetically. But then I started to have some really negative things start to happen to me. Like I would have other entities coming into my space, and it would often be like the orbs, the beautiful blue and white orbs would react in a really peculiar way. They would kind of dart around, and then I could feel another presence coming in, and that's when the attacks started happening, and started to have a lot of reptilians showing up. And I would at first it was like I would see glimpses, because they would have flesh forms, but you would see a glimpse of their inner. There's that movie where you could put these shades on. I don't know what it's called, but you put these shades on and you could see what was actually behind what was behind these dark beings, and there was literally monsters, reptilians behind them. That movie is so good. I'll send it to you. Maybe we can put it in the notes for people. I'll find out the name of it. But I had that sort of experience where it was just oh my God, my eyes, it was like some blinkers had been taken off, and I could see other realities, and I could see other beings. And it got really dark for a time. It was tough. And I was like, I'm totally going mental. What is this about? And I tried to talk about it to people, but they would get that fluoride stare, that kind of blankety blank, what is she talking about? And it was tough. I had quite a few really difficult experiences. I remember once I'd been at a friend's house, and we'd been dancing and having a little tote away, and this whole expansion thing happened where my energy field would open, and I would travel on the frequencies, on the waves. And then I would shut down, I'd go home. And as I was going home this one particular day, there was a helicopter that kept circling and circling and circling. And I was in a really big estate, one of the biggest estates in London. And it was circling the estate and circling the estate. And I was like, oh, there must be something's gone down. So I was making my way home. But the helicopter, even when I got out of the estate, it was still on me. It was still with me. It was still very much with me. And I was like, what's happening? So I started to try and take some back alleys, taking some other routes home. And I kid you not, I got to a really quiet place. And it was like a dude all in black. He looked a bit like Men in Black, glasses, suit, out of the helicopter, and he's got like a weapon that was like a laser weapon. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, I'm literally going to be zapped and obliterated. And I ran and I took sanctuary in an old broken down hospital. And it was creepy as it was, so scary. And it was just there, looping and looping and looping and looping for ages. And eventually it left, and I made my way back home. And for me, that was really quite scary. And I was like, but it made me, I didn't shut down my search and my quest for what is the truth and what's going on. Who are humans? What are we capable of? But it made me a bit more aware of dark forces at hand, that it's not all beautiful and magical and amazing. We humans and Earth had been really infiltrated. And then I started really trying to research, and I came across David Icke, and I was like, saving grace. I'm not a nut. This stuff is really going on.
Yeah, that's quite fascinating. Sounds like your typical atypical Men in Black, warning or scare, or would you have an idea why you might have been a target at that point? Because maybe you'd figured out how to like ride the wave, which is actually highly unusual for a young girl, young child your age to actually figure that out. Most people that see this will never have even thought to bring to mind the fact that these things are possible.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that I was then in the line of attack, and have been ever since. I've had so many awful, terrible encounters, and it's like they won't take you out, but they just want to shut you up. They want to scare you. And ultimately, what I found as well for me, my biggest thing was that I couldn't lose connection to source and to myself and my love and who I am. What is my message? Why am I here at this time on planet Earth? And I think that the biggest message is to help people to remember who they are, what are their real capacities, that right now on planet Earth, our consciousness is rising, and there's nothing that no one or anything can change it. But what we can do as humans is we can tap in and we can try and elevate ourselves. And also, I think that from a very, very young age, I was also very aware of being a sanctuary. I would sit in these sacred places and say, please, I want to be a sanctuary of peace. I want to be a sanctuary of love. Use me. I was very aware that I was a vessel, and I didn't want nonsense. I didn't want to live a nonsense life. I wanted to live a life of substance and of good, and to see the world, to be a part of it, to really experience it, and always to show gratitude. Like, I think it's incredibly important to be humble, to whether you're at home, whether you're in a sacred space, whether you're in a shopping center, have gratitude. And so I think from a really young age, I tapped into different realities. And because I came from a place of innocence, I suppose, it was real innocence and curiosity. But I wouldn't take shit. I wouldn't take nonsense. I kept trying to punch through those walls and that webbing and those barriers, and I questioned stuff. And even when they would terrify me, the dark entities and the agenda, whatever we want to call them, even when they would come in and scare the living crap out of me, I wouldn't have it. I'd come back bigger and bolder and wiser and stronger and just be like, no, I understand that if you shut me down, that's like another light worker that's gone out. I'm not having it. Even if I make a tiny change in this little space that I'm in, you know, that could be 1 square meter. Even if I just make a difference within my family and my neighbors, I'm doing well. But it's not been that. I've always had real access to working with young people, working in community. I've been very privileged in being able to travel, and my light hasn't been shut down, and I won't be silent. But I do think that now is really important for people to share their experiences and to start leveling up and really invest in themselves. If you know that you've got some heavy stuff that's going on, you've got to release it. You've got to let it go. Do whatever you need to do to help yourself.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Celestine prophecy, and as for
Yeah.
many people in their whole lifetimes can attest, there's often a gateway book. And I think the Celestine prophecy was also that one of those books for me. When it came out, then I read it, and there were so many things that made utter sense. And I don't remember hardly anything in it, but it's like some people. I remember how it made me feel, not necessarily the content or the words.
Yes.
I remember feeling excited reading it. There was something about orbs. There was something about Peru, running through the jungle. I remember getting emotional. And it definitely was, yeah, an amazing gateway book. And I'm so grateful for it. And I know a lot of people that watch this will relate to that too. The orbs, I too, as a child, so they were some of the biggest revelations, different sized orbs jumping through the bedroom wall. And sometimes they were beautiful and they would open up and it would be something angelic. Sometimes they would open up and they would have harmonious music, and I would see a little video or a street scene of horses and carriages or old-fashioned cars, and you'd hear the noise and the hustle and bustle, like unbelievable. And other times it was dark, demonic, guttural, and sometimes they would bounce off my body, like physically bounce off my body. I had Freddie Silver on that other day, the great researcher, archaeologist, goes around the world talking about the invisible temples, where invisible temples, you know, the temples around the world. I love him so much. And when I first met him, it was at 2007, and it was him and Graham Hancock. I really like him too. Of course, I tried to get him on my channel too. You know, and they were in Glastonbury, and we were at this Orb. It was the Orb conference, and it was when everybody was discovering the phenomena. You had a digital camera, and you take a pic, never on your phone, always on your digital camera. And we went out,
Yeah.
and we were standing on a hill near the hotel, and not far from the town centre. So it's really easy to get to places in Glastonbury. Such a gorgeous little town. Funky energy though. You've got to have your shields up because it's tricky to navigate at times. And there was a man and a woman, a husband and wife. They were so lovely. And they said, right, you lot, watch this. And these gigantic, I couldn't believe my eyes. I'm like, this is a mass hypnosis. This is like these gigantic orbs came bouncing up the hill. Like it was like a portal just opened up and they just came in bouncing. Unbelievable. Now, I'm a clairvoyant, as you know, so I
Yeah.
see easily and naturally, but other people could see as well. And I think, again, as we've gone and we can map our spiritual evolution and the individual singular journey that we all have to take and that we do take. The orbs as well, for people watching, was definitely something prevalent for you and prevalent for me. And crocodiles, you mentioned reptilians. I don't remember, unless I've blocked it out, specific reptilian as a child. As an adult, different story as a child, but I do remember crocodiles on the floor, reptiles on the floor as a child, which to me is that reptilian scale, you know, that not scalar, that's a whole different thing. But
Yeah.
imagery as a child, you have to have, you know, reference points. Like I'm about to get David Adair back on my channel, and he had an experience, near-death experience, seeing Jesus. And he'll tell his description of Jesus. But I saw Jesus in my bedroom at 7, and the man I saw even though I knew it was the same man, the same being, the same energy, soul, presence, essence, he looked different. And that is because as a child, especially, we have to reference. So we remember, and those signature markers and memories become enhanced, and we remember them. We can go back to them because that's again how we learn. We're mapping our own discovery, aren't we, with different symbologies or representations or actual physical experiences.
Absolutely, absolutely. I became a Christian for a while back then, actually, because when it all started going really dark and I had lots of attacks, I was like, oh, I need to seek refuge. And so I did go to the church, and, you know, we don't need to go into that. Obviously, it didn't work out for me because I asked too many questions. I was just like, but this, that, it doesn't make sense. What about this? And they were like, out you go. 3 churches wouldn't have me. But what I did gain from the church was the power of prayer and meditation. And so that would then also help me to see off and just not take any nonsense from these beings, these dark beings that would come. You know, I would not have it. It taught me to stand in my majesty and in my sovereignty. And I think that's also what's really important for people, is to be aware that you don't have to take and accept any nonsense, whether it be physically, mentally, or spiritually. You can stand in your power. You got to tap into that own divine goodness that is within you. And yeah, so I think that it's key. It's key to know who you are and what we're capable of. Oh my gosh, it's still such a mystery about who humans are. But right now, all eyes are on planet Earth. And that's another thing that I really got from a very young age, and it really hit home when I was in Costa Rica, that everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected into the galaxy, all of the other species, all of the other beings. We are all one. I am you, you are me. It is one. And everything that we do, everything we think, everything we say, it's connected. It all is it's like one big breath. And I think that that's what more and more of us need to understand. It's not that there's other beings out there. They're not just out there. They're here with us. And divine source lives within us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're all interconnected.
It's a shame
wow. And I think that's...
It's a shame your internet's so rubbish, because the sound hasn't been great, but I don't want to stop you because what you have to say is so important. But we'll keep going. But just to say to people, don't comment on it. It is what it is. This lady does tend to create big kind of wave bands around her. So it's actually quite normal.
Yes. Sorry, often my lights will go out, my internet will go out, but things switch. I go near people and they go, they get like electric shocks. It happens. I apologize. I'm sorry, guys.
Lucky your hair's curly already.
I've got a really big energetic field. I used to get attached to people when I was younger as well. I'd be like in a nightclub having a good old dance, and you know, I'd walk through and I would just go ping and just like pull back on some big hunky guy's chest, or sometimes not a big hunky guy's chest, and my hair would be wrapped around his, like the buttons, and I have to unpick myself and be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and like literally my hair also has its own thing on. And yeah, apologies going in and out. I know that's frustrating for folks. What can I say? I've got a really, really big and powerful energy field.
You do. I think best thing is just try and sit. I know it's hard for you because you're such a movement. You're a dancer. You're a musician. You're a sound wave, sound bath technician too, and so many other things which we're going to come to. So yeah, we're trying, when you're talking, try and sit still if possible. Now I want to go back a step. Something that you shared, which I think is really important to bring to the front, was like the seeing the orbs. And one of the things that people need to know is that they themselves can see so much without realizing. And I've said it many times in different broadcasts I've done, and I'll share it again here. You can literally see this works really much better by the ocean, by the sea, by a lake, by water. If you go down to the water's edge and you walk along and you look up into the sky, but you look just in front of you. So you just in front of you, but you squint your eyes and you look just in front of you and start looking a little bit further and further. So between you and the sky, you've got all this expanse of space. And if you close your eyes, just squint them so that you put your brain focus mechanism in the back seat And then the critical thinking is step to the side, and then you're totally open to what's in front of you. The neutrons, the atoms, the nuclei, the neutronas, it is so possible to see. And because what the ionization of water, negative, positive ions, photons, electrons, these things are possible to see the naked eye and experience, especially the way light refracts and bounces. So when you're squinting, especially near water, it does work outside anyway, you will literally see billions and billions of moving sparkles, tiny bubbles, glitter drops. And the more that we practice, the easier it becomes. And guys, the first time you see it, it's amazing. It's a beautiful experiment. It is natural, it is free, and it will prove to you more of the phenomena of the world directly around you, just outside of your of your own physical vessel, just outside of your own electromagnetic field or aura, you know. So yeah, so that's a good tip. Anything else we can say here on helping people see orbs or experience their own kind of phenomena, their spirituality?
Well, I think it is like a muscle, you know, it's like muscle memory. You have to practice these things. And not only will that help, but it's like you then create your own vortex. You know, you're creating a swirl of energy. If you sit in prayer, in meditation, in love and devotion, you are building up energy, you're building up connection. So I'd say that that is really key, like having daily practice. Whether you have access to beautiful nature or you don't have access to beautiful nature, you can sit somewhere quietly in your home, even if you share your home with tons of people like I did growing up. I had my own little space that was my little sanctuary, and I had a little altar. And that place was where I could sit and I could be and I can dwell. So I think that's key for people. It's not something that you can just switch on and switch off. It takes commitment. It takes commitment, and sit in a place of wanting to learn. You know, like going back to that childlikeness, like Jesus would say, you know, come to me in a childlike manner. There's something to be said about that, because we build up all these preconceived ideas, and we have so much judgment, and we can get really caught up in the head. Dropping down into that heart space and coming from just being inquisitive, you're just going to show up. You want to seek and you want to learn. That also is key. I feel that has been key for my journey, in just coming in a neutral stance and just trying to understand what's going on. Show me, ask for things to be revealed to you, and to be the best version of yourself as well. You know, I want to be the best version of myself in this lifetime. I want to be the best version of myself. And ask source, ask if you think you have guides, or there's so much. But if you project out what you would like, you're going to get more of that back. It's easy to be like, I don't want this and I don't want that, and to be a moany moo. That's so easy. Get past all that nonsense. Be more of, what do you want? What do you want? You want to be a being that shows up full of love. Okay, practice that. What does that look like to you? Because there's so many different levels of love. There's so many languages of love. You want to be more patient. Be more patient towards yourself, first and foremost. So I think it's about being really mindful about living a daily practice of mindfulness, of, you know, who do you want to be? You want to be the best version of yourself. What does that look like?
Beautiful. Now, I know that you've been sharing me, obviously you don't share me any of your clients' names or their personal details, but another reason why I've invited you back on the channel is because the work you're doing, you're having so many breakthroughs with people who are really ready now. And this is on your one-to-one private coaching. I know that you see, you know, people together, or a parent and a child together as well. You know, you're a teacher of music. You're a teacher of so many great things. You were sharing a couple of breakthroughs the other day. I'm not going to say you have to share it here, but I just got so excited for you and for the people that you're helping. And so I wanted to bring you back to my beautiful audience, or our beautiful audience, or you guys out there watching, wherever that, as you're led to watch this, to know that Marishka is there for a one-to-one or a group, to help uplift you and, you know, kind of build you during this time. And so many more people now are really ready to book a session. And you were saying that, you know, people need to have just a little bit more love and respect for themselves and invest in themselves. You know, if it's a 1 hour, one session, not that you're going to get everything done, but and also the thing I always found out with my own practice, clinic practice, is that people will come and they'd have an idea that I've got to work on the way that I function in my romantic relationships. And then it wasn't about that. It was about their relationship with money. You know, you never know. And so someone like you is so good at pointing that out. But what would you like to say? And give us the email and everything or the website, because sometimes people don't look underneath and get the details. So tell us what you can offer people, please.
Well, I thank you, Dani. I think it is important that we let people know that, you know, there's folks that you can go to who are going to help you at such a time as this, as such a time as this, as there are a lot of nut jobs out there at the moment. Trend, it's like we're in a new trend. Spirituality is the new trend, and
Yeah.
please, like, you know, no, all jokes aside, you've really got to be careful where you place yourself, because people will take advantage. You know, that's scary shit. And that sort of stuff I actually don't tolerate lightly. Like, you know, I will switch on you if I don't think you're of the highest good and you're looking out for people's for what folks really need, and you're trying to take advantage. No, your shit's going to be shit.
Losing
I
you,
work
mate.
with clients.
Losing you. Try and sit really still and maybe lean forward just a little bit and talk into the mic, because you were saying such good stuff there.
Is that good?
Yeah, let's just try that.
Okay. So what I was saying is, when I work with people, you know, whether it's in a group setting or a mother and child, or, you know, a family dynamic, or individuals, often, you know, how a session starts, it starts with, we just sit still and sit silent for a minute. And I do dynamic breath work. Maybe I'll even do a bit of somatic movement, because we want to instantly have a shift, have a physical shift. We get so caught up in all of this physical living that we get about, and we don't tap into what's really going on with us. Like you said, you know, people would come to you and they'd be like, oh, I've got all these romantic problems. And ultimately, you know, when they started digging away and doing the work, it wasn't nothing to do with romantic stuff. It was to do with money or other things. So I start my sessions with, okay, we need to get back to core, to you. And that comes through, you know, somatic work. And then I believe, because of my near-death experiences, my four clairs are really switched on. And thank God I can now tap in and tap out of them, because it was a bit overwhelming at times. So now I can often get visions for folks as well. And I'll be like, what is this? I've just had this vision of this gentleman, and he's towering over you and the family. Like, who is this? Who's this big male character? And then, you know, I'll have a little information, little nuggets to give them. And folks instantly go, oh gosh, yeah, that is whomever. And then I'll go, okay. And then once I've been given an in, I'll go, shall we go again? And we'll go in and have another little look. And then there's some more information. And often what happens is, in one session, you'll be able to instead of talking, because I think talking therapies are amazing, instead of talking for 10 sessions, in that one vision, and then me sharing that vision, and then the person coming back with, oh yeah, it's this person, and this is what happened, and then this is how it made me feel. We've maybe, instead of spending 10 hours, we've spent 10 minutes. And then it's often getting to the root cause of what's going on with you, what's happening. Why do these patterns keep playing out? Why do you keep showing up in life like this? Because we carry generational traumas. We carry stuff that isn't ours. And we can see things keep playing out, but we don't know where they come from. They're like, you're like, I know this isn't serving me, and this is messy, but how do I keep living this scenario out? And that's often where, you know, it's you've got to take away the root cause, the trauma that maybe isn't even yours. It's perhaps your great grandmother's. You know, so we'll do work within your lineage. But the most important thing as well, I think, is to then put in a new pattern. Once you've taken away a program, you need to put in something else, whether it's more physical activity, whether it's going out into nature and trying to connect more with the elements, the elementals. Yeah, but something's happening. I've noticed in the last couple of years. Well, we know what's happening. Consciousness is rising. Humanity is understanding more and more about who we are and what we're capable of, and that we've been imprisoned for a very long time. And now we're awake. it's beautiful. But more and more people, I think, becoming like, oh, what do I do? I'm really quite overwhelmed by everything. Where do I go? What do I do? And I think seeking tribe is incredibly important as well. Being around people whom you can share stuff with, and they're not going to have that crazy look like what. Going to amazing places like Jessic, and I think that is key. So seeking the help that you need, try and seek authentic folk, and then building tribe. That's something that I do as well, is that like people come together on a weekly basis and they talk and they share. We do some somatic work, we do some breath work, and we get deep into that heart space, and people just share stuff that's gone on in their past or where they're at in the present. But building tribe, I think, is key right now. Also do your inner work and try and connect with others that are on the same head and heart frequency.
Yeah, definitely. Beautiful. And for people to gather in those, I remember years ago when I was going through my kind of, spiritual journey of connecting with people, because I'd always completely been alone, clairvoyant, seeing the angels, the demons, and the aliens, and then taking a journey, around the Celestine prophecy time that book came out, other books, and then there was the whole movement, Doreen Virtue, Wayne Dyer, Jack Canfield, Tony Robbins, and all that kind of, spiritual evolution. And sitting in circle with people, gathering sacred circles, a group of 6 women or whatever, and and then again watching the those that say, I have all the answers in the universe, and nobody wants to go and sit in front of a therapist or a spiritual reader or a psychic or anybody of any ilk if that person hasn't done their own inner work. They're not in a position to advise. They're not going to be their best for that person. That's why we always say love self first, heal self first, focus on self, because you've got no right to be advising, anybody out there is vulnerable if you yourself haven't, again, loved
Yeah,
on you. It's a position of great pride, and really a worthy position, but one that cannot be sidestepped, or
no,
abused in any way. Just another thing
no
that's
way.
really bothering me the last couple of days, and where are we? July 4th, 5th, time 3rd, could be the
Yeah.
2nd, I don't know. All I know is it's already July. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But there's this massive push from grey programs, grey hybrid humans, people who are channeling greys, because the grey aliens who did the most atrocious things to humanity and they've been removed physically are working through and puppeteering and handling other humans, and they are in your face, guys. They are running a conference. Come and channel the greys. Let us say a password to a human body, and that consciousness will be emptied, and a grey alien will come in. Let the great therapist sit on stage, and let she hypnotize you all as the grey frequency comes in. And they're not denying it. Well, they're denying it to people, certain people, but it is a terrifying, terrifying move as the journey of souls, our soul being the goal of the dark that's tried to infiltrate our planet, is being swiped down. They want to get as many people and get them off track, get them off path, hurt them, harm them, scare them. And so, guys, be very mindful. And I've said it 1,000 times. Stay away from Ouija boards. If you want a dark, horrible, like terrifying thing to happen, then ignore it. Think it's all nonsense. And actually, no, don't ignore it. It's just too serious. It's too serious. I've seen too many people. I've had to help too many people with attachments from a Ouija board. And there's a bloke out there. He's trying to
Yeah.
lure people to a conference, and he's advising them to use a Ouija board, among other things. No, but he does. He literally says a Ouija board's a good way and you can make your own. Please don't do that, guys. It is terrible, terrible advice. What are your thoughts?
I think that, you really, this is so very serious, because we are in a time where it's like we are in ascension, but it's not over yet, people. I think that people are like, oh, no, we're still very much in it. We haven't won yet. So don't lose focus on all of the nonsense that's going on, like in Hollywood, all of these morons that are trying to gather people together, and so you're gonna see these beings and those beings. Like it's it's very much a personal inward journey. You've got to show up for your work, and it's lifelong. I'm still always learning and go, oh my God, I can't believe I had that belief. What an utter. Oh my gosh, I still don't know that. How am I still acting out in that way? It's constant. The growth is constant. But what I've tried my best to be consistent in is where I place myself and whom I place myself with. I won't allow people to come into my inner sanctuary. I don't go to certain places where there's going to be tons of people, because I know that it's easy to get entities and attachments. People can really work on you. They can be quite far from you, and they can work on you and send something to attach itself to you. So we've constantly got to have energy hygiene, cleaning ourselves up and cleaning ourselves out. But do not be placing yourself in these situations with these people. It is serious. I had an entity attachment once, and it was so bad. I kept having really vicious, I kept being really angry, and I was like, what is going on? I'd look at myself in the mirror, and I was like, I couldn't quite see myself. It was like there was something behind my eyes. There was my hair felt more coarse. Everything felt different, and I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't understand what it was. And it was a entity. It was an attachment. When I really, like, when I had to face it, I should be like, this isn't right. Something is wrong. And I took a deep look in the mirror, and I spoke into myself, into my eyes, into my soul. And I was like, show me what is going on. There was an entity. There was an attachment. I don't know where it had come from. I don't know how long it had been there, but I had to see it off. So yeah, be very careful where you place yourself, people. It's no joke. We cannot be messing around in these times. We really cannot.
And again, I saw this silly old bag years ago, and she was a silly old bag on telly, and she's doing an investigation, and she's come from a long line of whatever, but she hasn't done proper training, proper protection. As the camera crew are working in the grounds and the hallways of this haunted cinema, this young boy starts getting attacked, psychically attacked by the unseen, by the dark. They pick the weakest one. He's freaking out. He's screaming because something's happening and it's invisible to all of us. And this silly old bag, she's like, use me, use my body. Stop it. And she clearly had no idea whatsoever. We do not invite people into our bodies. We do not invite channeling of beings to come into the vessel. They can come alongside. A good practice is to imagine a glass screen. They are not coming through. Stop trying to be heroes. And teaching that shit. And it causes, lifelong issues, mental issues, schizophrenia, which I truly believe is possession. Many different entities tapping into the one field. What were you going to say? You raised your hand there.
No, I was in agreement to you. I was totally in agreement to you about opening yourself up. Like, be very clear about what you're opening yourself up to and what you are saying. You're not coming in. You do not have access to be here. So when you do sit in prayer and sit in meditation and you want to connect with divine source, you can connect with divine source. You can connect with the loving Pachamama. But then you also shield yourself with a golden bubble of protection and a ring of fire. Nothing that is not of the divine, holy, living light can come anywhere near me or into my sanctuary. We have to make it very, very clear. I've even got my hands on my hips at the moment. I really go into like Shira mode, because this is serious stuff, people. We cannot be messing around. We really, really can't. And be it on your head if you get fooled. I know it might sound a bit harsh, but it's like, come on, we're old enough and ugly enough now to get stuff. We know.
Totally.
You just got to sit and listen to your guts. Your guts will tell you. Be a bit more aware of discernment. Practice discernment. Is this person, am I vibing right with this person? When you first meet someone, what are your guts saying? It doesn't matter if the person is gorgeous, they're really articulate and eloquent. So that can be a lovely masquerade. Someone who's dark and not particularly very nice is not going to come like, they're not going to come like that. They're going to come all lovely and woo you in. You've got to listen to your inner guidance. What is it saying to you? What is it telling you? And do not ignore it. If we ignore all the signs like I had also in Costa Rica, I was ignoring stuff too. And then eventually we had to get seriously bitch slapped for us to wake up and get things. I don't want that. I'm like, no, I want to be more aware of what signs are being given to me for me to understand. Do I align with this person or don't I? Do I want to go in that direction or do I not? There is always choice. There's always choice, but we've got to work on understanding and knowing what is right for us. And that comes back to self-worth. That comes back to that journey of looking after yourself, self-care, simple self-care. How do you show up for yourself? Going for nature walks by yourself, taking lovely long baths where you're listening to frequencies, beautiful music that's going to lift your vibrations. Look after yourself, because that's also how you keep up the energy hygiene and how you will help look after the discernment, the understanding what is best for you.
That's beautiful. It's funny when you mention, people coming in a beautiful package, and we're also impressed with how eloquent, how eloquent, how whatever, and then I remember years ago, I had a boyfriend for 5 minutes, and he was so handsome, like he was just so beautiful. And I couldn't believe that he was interested in me. And I was so flattered. Anyway, he turned up and picked me up in this absolutely stunning, flashy car. And then I suddenly realized he's a bit of a flash bloke, real flash in the cash. And he took me to the B-52s were playing at Brixton Academy in London. And that was such a cool first date. And as we were going, this bloke comes up saying, mate, tickets are sold out, but I've got a couple. So we paid 4 times the entrance. We didn't know till we got in. And he goes, oh no, I paid all this. And, but I remember thinking, oh God, anyway, we had a good time. It was a good laugh. And then I think I saw him 2 or 3 more times after that. And he was so handsome. He actually had absolutely nothing on the inside. I couldn't connect. I couldn't resonate. I couldn't feel him. And it was so superficial that by, I think, the 3rd day, I started feeling physically nauseous. I couldn't look at him. I didn't want to kiss him. And it was so interesting that he was so good at being this facade, and it was a thing. And I met a lot of people in LA, Los Angeles, in the arts, in film, in this and that when I was writing up there. Oh my goodness, it was so interesting. So again, being impressed by someone's first deliverance of self is a really good test for everyone to go, ooh, what do I feel? And we all instantly judge. Every single one of us, we judge the instant we walk past someone, they look at us, we see them. It's natural. It's actually a preservation and a form of protection. Now, I did want to say also, while we're on the subject of doing things, I got this from Darren, who's got this beautiful company. I'm not, this is just because I've got some stuff and I want to share some tools with you guys. So Nikki Allen, my friend Nikki Allen, friend of the channel, globally famous psychic medium, going to speak again this year at GISIC, our Galactic Spiritual Informers Conference. We just lost Marishka. She just got bounced off there. I just got bounced out. Anyway, just as well I'm chatting. So I got this great stuff. So listen, you can do it on your own as well, but get people, if so you can get someone to do it with you. So cleansing your space, your field, right? It's like a disinfectant. It's so incredible. This is the ancient sage, right? The indigenous. I love that smell. Now, those of you that have smoken weed, I have in the way distant past, like 70, but I can't touch a drug. My system can't tolerate drugs at all. It just doesn't work for me. I'll just go unconscious. I pass out. Good for you if you can. I just can't do any kind of drug whatsoever. I don't even take a headache pill unless I'm absolutely just like, head banging off the wall. But anyway, this beautiful ancient, and this thing is, guys, if you have people that say, oh, that's the devil, ignore and walk on, because that is a programmed statement of utter stupidity. And I don't care if the Pope said it, it is utter stupidity and wrong. There is a very prominent substance in this natural organic plant that when you light it and the smoke billows, it literally causes a shift in the atmospherics, the air, the particles, the neutrons, the neutrinos, the photons, the electrons, the particles, and it literally disinfects, it changes, it shifts, it transmutes. It's natural, archaeological, ancient technology. Always have a shell. Now, this little box that I got from Darren, Nikki Allen's husband, it all comes with everything you need in it. So you've got your little shell, because when you light the sage, it will drop. It will drop. You've got to be careful. So you'll be wafting around and making sure that you're catching the ash, yeah? So when you are saging someone or saging yourself, you can use the turkey feather and you can just waft like the ancients did, around you, behind you. Just beautiful. It's lovely, lovely, lovely. So there's two of these, two really nicely bundled sages, the albacone shell, and there's even a little piece of selenite, a little tiny selenite wand. This little selenite wand is said to be one of the clearest aspects to connect directly with the angelic realm. Now, those of you that have already done some kind of practice, and even those of you that haven't, you could try this. When you lay down and you're in bed, you could literally put the selenite on your crown or not, or just on your heart, on your solar plexus, or hold it, or don't bother. But what I've done in the past is called a crystal of transcendence, transcendental, connection to the angelic realm. This is the one crystal in its raw form, like it is here. You do not get it wet. It will disintegrate. It goes to fairy dust. So that's a really good thing. Bless her. She's trying to get back in. Let me just tell her to try. As I share with you another thing I got also from Darren at Fifth Dimension Gifts. So when I had William Brown and Trevor Grassi on my channel last, and William Brown is a prolific Giza Plaza, there's a dyslexia mixing up words, Giza, Egypt, Plaza, explorer. He even owns a stable block that the Egyptian government are trying to get off him because they're trying to knock down all the old buildings and build bloody hotels on the sacred site there. And he mentioned to me that red jasper would be a good thing for me. So here she comes. And so I listened and paid attention. And then Nikki Allen is selling these glass. Nikki Allen's husband, Darren from Fifth Dimension Gifts, selling it. And it's really solid. It's a really solid glass. And I have a filtered water, Brita filtered water, and it's solid. Don't worry about knocking it over because I'm quite heavy-handed. And I love this very much. Here's our girl, Marishka is back. So yeah, so I'm drinking through a red jasper crystal. Just sharing there what I got from Nikki Allen's husband Darren's store. Went through, yeah, the sage and the turkey feather, wafting and cleaning and cleansing as we're helping people with tools and places to get them to. And the selenite, saying, I don't know whether you've worked with selenite, but I put it on my forehead, lay down with it. Oh, you've got one too. And then it's transcendental. It's an angelic connector. What's your experience with selenite, and what would you like to share into the field to our lovely audience?
I'll show you something. This is what I work with.
Yours is bigger than mine.
Sorry, I went off. Literally, you froze like this. You were like seeing off the bad demons, and then it just went kicked out, and it won't let me back in. I was like, yeah, thank you very much, It's because we're not having it, and these things are real, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like when you're calling stuff out, it's not just going to let it be. The dance not going to be like, oh yeah. It's going to go, oh, is that right? We're going to now mess with your meeting. But I love that you went into into promo, into sales. That's so classy. I love it. You're like, get yourselves one of these and get yourselves some Palo Santo and some sage. Energy hygiene. It's about kind of, okay, what tools have we got around us to help ourselves? Whether it be blessing your water, having your crystals. When I clean my space, I use all essential oils and I've sage burning constantly. There's always sage burning. Energy hygiene for me, it's simple and it's basics, but it really works and it really helps. And we can discover these things, and then there's nothing new about it. They're all old. Our great grandmas were doing all of these things and beyond, and it's eons.
Yeah, and I think that it's really wicked, like truly wicked, when people dismiss ancient sage, ancient herbs. Women were called witches when they were just wise, beautiful women working with the natural, pharmacology of our planet, and it was obviously the patriarchal coming in to dismiss. And now we're stuck today with the FDA, corrupt as you like, and pharmacology, which we are taking it down, of course, but goodness me, it's been such a battle. And when people dismiss ancient technology, now, recently I did a blessing. There's a young man, 17-year-old darling man, very, very bedridden with anxiety and all kinds of different things. And I got his mum, I said, get yourself a Bible, and throw it under his bed because he's being visited by dark entities. And I went around, I did a blessing. He was very open to talk to me, which was great. But he's a 17-year-old, he's on his journey, he's been involved in gangs. You can't do too much, you can only do enough. And you cannot manipulate. You can kick ass when you're there with the energy that's there, and I did. And I said, get a Bible. Bible's very powerful. Throw it under his bed when he's not looking, because that will sometimes literally prevent negative energies or coming in. Anyway, things got worse. And I said to her, that doesn't normally happen. I said, where'd you get the Bible? She goes, I got it off Amazon from a company. And I said, let's have a coffee. She's a friend, so I met her for coffee. And so I held the Bible and, oh my God, it's been used. Start flicking through it. Someone's highlighted areas.
Oh, no.
Oh, so who knows? Again, guys, you've got to be so careful what you bring in the house. So the Bible wasn't working. So then I actually pointed her to Nikki Allen's shop, and she bought a blue ring light with blue crystal, seraphonite healing crystal lamp. And her son thinks it's the coolest thing ever, and he's got it in his room.
Yeah.
That is a radiating protector. So that's going to be better for the boy. And the boy found the Bible under his bed and was really angry. So yeah. Anyway, so again, guys, just because there's a lot of tricky teenagers and kids and all kinds of energies fighting and causing upset and disrupting the family unit, but that is another couple of ways to kind of protect the field. So listen, let's look at anything.
My husband. Sorry, I just wanted to say about Matisse and my husband and I do work with young people, because we have done for always. I was given a job when I was 18 to work in a community centre, and that's just now been ongoing for me. And I think that I'm going to try my best not to get really upset and even cry, but I'm really seeing being back in England and having the privilege of being away during all the lockdowns. We went through a couple of them, but we didn't submit. But now really seeing the repercussions of our young people and what they, being not having access to one another, not being to hang out with your pals, to go and be with your grandma, to go outside. A lot of people, a lot of the young ones have stayed in that pattern. They've stayed in that routine where they stay at home and they don't go out, and they're addicted to gaming. And I'm not passing any judgment, but what I'm seeing is that more and more our young ones are becoming really introverted and not in a good way, in a way where they're becoming very detached from their families, from their friends, from society, from nature. And it's a real crying shame. And then we're giving them all these labels. They're this and they're that. And actually, I just think we need, don't leave your young ones to their own devices. You know, if you're aware that they've got some addictions going on where they want to just be in their room and they want to be gaming, and you're like, oh yeah, but they are playing with other kids online. Yeah, but do they need to do that for 4 or 5 hours? No, they don't. You know, try and get them back to sit around the dinner table and everyone to have dinner together. Try and get them to go out for nature walks where you all just charge out into the countryside together, or just go to your local park and have a little kickabout. We yeah, I don't know, that it's tough. It's tough. I've never seen like I'm seeing with young people, you know, and so the teenagers, they're very insular, and then you've got kind of like the 9 to 12-year-olds whom they're quite defensive, you know, really quite defensive and wanting to really stick up for themselves quite a lot, but they don't have this any sort of body awareness or even awareness of themselves and what they're saying and what they're doing, the repercussions. And it just feels like massive. There's a big separation. You know, what went down over those 3 years, we're really seeing the repercussions now, and we're seeing it. I personally feel I'm seeing it a lot in the young people, that there isn't that being present and having a zest for being like adventurous and inquisitive. They're they feel a bit flat. Their energies are not vibrant and colourful and rainbow like. So, you know, we've got to invest in our young people in any way that we can. Try and get them out of being in their rooms by themselves. Try and connect with them more. You know, even if you come across as being a bit of a plonker, a lot of the time I know that my young lot, the ones that I'm with, they're often like, all right, Marishka, because I'm like mother hen. I'm like, please have your water. You know, water has life, it has memory, it has feeling. Let it, talk to it. They're like, what? You know, some of them are like, okay, all right, I can take this. And think about what you're eating. What are you consuming? You know, look at all that sugar. You've got tons of sugar in there. What is that going to do to your system? So just having little simple, basic conversations with them, and don't come across like a waggy finger, like you're above them. Get on a level with them. Just try and have some heart-centered conversations. And even if you come across as a plonker, it's not about us. And I think that's where a lot of the time we're getting things wrong as well. It's not about me, it's about you. How can I show up for you? How can I help you? How can I help you be your best self? And it's about removing and shifting my ego and my expectations, and what can I do for you? How can I be of service?
Yeah, and you're so good at
So
that.
yeah, please.
Yeah.
Oh man, like the young people and families, the family dynamic we've been toyed with and messed with for eons. And that's something that really infuriates me as well. My husband and I do work with the family dynamic, and we use the vehicle of performing arts and the sacred instruments to bring back the joy, sparks and connection. It's
Yeah.
really important.
It's so important. For me, one of the most important things a single human can say to any other human, no matter what their age, is tell them what they're doing right. Start there.
Yes,
Smile a genuine smile.
absolutely.
Disarm the entire room with your genuine smile and tell them what they're
Yeah,
doing right. So
yes.
again, I know the internet's really struggling your end, mate. So we're gonna
Mm.
bring this beautiful chat to an end. The audio is pretty good though, so people are gonna hear your words, which
Okay,
is the
great.
most important thing. So tell us
Absolutely.
where we can find you, how we can get hold of you, how we can book you, how we can ask you to create a beautiful healing sound bath, just just for uniquely created for individual people, that they can lay down, plug in with the sacred instruments. Tell us, how do we get to you?
We will put the links down below, because there's various things that you can link to. So you can link personally to me for coaching, one-to-one coaching, or a group setting, or if you want to come along with your kid. You know, I do work where I work with a parent or whatever, a guardian, and we can work through stuff together. And then there's also stuff that my husband is the lead on, with the working with sacred instruments, with sound therapy. Like, it is so powerful. And it's nothing new, guys. These are all ancient, amazing instruments. But I think what's happening in our day and age is folks like my husband and myself, we're starting to layer things. We're starting to layer our work. Like, let's go into crop circles with our monochord, and layering things up, bringing the elements of water. And we we've got to heal, and we've got to up level our healing. We've got to move a bit faster with it, guys. So there's various different links. We also do We've got an up and coming retreat in Costa Rica, a family retreat. We've started doing more family gatherings where everyone can get together. It doesn't matter what your family dynamic looks like. There's no judgment. It's about let's rise together, shall we? And let's do it in a playful manner. Let's smile and celebrate who we are and what we've got, because we are really, really blessed. And if you look on the lighter side of life, you're going to feel much better. It's as simple as that. So I'll put all the links below. I think that's so much easier because there's 3 different things they can connect to.
I know, but again, some people just don't hear and they never look, so they can look up Quirky Zen, right? Quirky Zen,
Quirky Zen,
zen.com.
absolutely. And Earth Dreams, we've got Earth Dreams retreats, and then Marishka, my name, Marishka, and my non-married name, Tharani, THARANI @gmail.com. I got recently married.
Excellent. Marishka Tharani. Marishka Tharani @gmail.com. Perfect. Marishka, always a joy to have you. I love my channel, especially for all the beautiful people, the different kinds, the different energies, frequencies, information, because not everyone is for everybody. I'm certainly not for everybody, and certainly everybody isn't for me. So I think it's so important to bring the quirky ones on, and you're definitely representing the quirky, the misfit, the black sheep, as I am and do. And, I think most of the people that actually do come on this channel can relate to that, and then we're getting to the point where we're like, God, we are the majority, dude. We are the majority. Step aside, dull ones. Turns out we're the most interesting.
Absolutely, it's our time, for those of us who've been a bit, lonely and kind of just doing your work quietly. Or just being a bit like, God, they're so weird, and put to the side of it. It's now our time to be at the forefront and to let all our colors shine, because that's how we can really influence others to do the same. I'm happy that I'm quirky and I'm odd and I'm a bit different. I like it, and I've always embraced it, and that can only, you have to embrace who you are, because that's all you've got. You have to be your own best friend and your cheerleader, and love on yourself, not in an ego or a vanity thing, not at all, but be your own best friend and smile at yourself, smile in the mirror, tell yourself you're lovely and you're worthy of being loved. Yeah, love on yourself.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Dani. I love you. You're wonderful.
You too.
So beautiful, inside and out. Thank you for being you. Thank you.
And thank you for being you. Thank you for being in my life and sharing your wealth of knowledge and your stories and your energy. And, you just make people feel better. It's really that simple. And to you guys out there, we've got this amazing conference, the Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection Conference. It's 27th of September, 28th, 29th, to see UFOs, aliens, ETs, learn about the true history of your planet, learn about space programs, the corrupt governments, the corrupt medical industrial complex. We've got Dr. Christiane Northrup there, Dr. Lee Merritt, naval surgeon there, David Adair, the rocket man, Elena Danan, the Galactic Federation of Worlds, not light. Galactic Federation of Light is a grey psyop. The Galactic Federation of Light is a grey psyop. You cannot federate light. It is to drag you over there into Greyville. And the people that push that, they talk about the greys. Be careful of the greys. I have no compassion. I have no forgiveness. We're in a spiritual war. When it's all done, we can have a little look and a little recce. But until the war is done, don't be foolish. Don't forgive. Don't just lead with love there. Protect yourself and your loved ones, guys. Be smart. So galacticspiritualinformers.com to get tickets. They're going up in August the 1st. We've only got, I think, 30 king-size hotel rooms left. We do have overflow hotel intel that we'll give to you, but most of you will want to stay in the hotel where the conference is actually happening, September 27, 28, 29. Get your tickets now, Galactic Spiritual Informers. Marishka Richet, your husband Matisse Richet, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. I will see you soon, my love. And to you guys,
thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And to you guys out there, thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for joining with us. Please subscribe so you never miss a great person like Marishka. There are many more to come on this channel with their secrets and their proof and their truth. I send you love, guys, from my heart to yours, and I'll see you soon.